blaring out show.
Next step forward you take after Rainbow is Monstrous.
Right.
You joined Black Sabbath.
Right.
Now, tell me about this coming together for you.
Well, that was a very difficult time. I didn't really know what I was going to do at that point. I mean, you've been the singer in a band all of your life, and, you know, the only ones that were mine, well, you know, the Elf days, it wasn't quite my band. Sure, I probably controlled it because I have that force of personality, perhaps, or maybe my talent shone a little bit above everyone else's, but, I mean, I didn't look at it that way. But I was, you know, after Rainbow, I thought maybe I'd like to have a chance to control my own life a little bit more. And with Sabbath, I had more of that chance. It wasn't this, you know, you do it our way, or, you know, because at that point I wasn't about to do it anybody's way. I was going to do it my way.
Yeah.
And it was just happened that my way fit very well into the plans that band needed, because they really were pretty much a dead issue at that point. They had released, I think, certainly 2 albums at that point, Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy, which were the farthest thing from success you could possibly imagine. I mean, to the point where Bill Ward, the drummer, was singing a lot of the songs, and, you know, and Ozzy wasn't very interested anymore, and Tony just wanted to, actually, it started with Tony called me and said, no, I want to put a band together, I'm going to leave Sabbath, would you do it with me? They had been together for 10 years. Their 10th anniversary was just coming up. And when we met and decided we were going to play together, they had gotten all these offers for, oh, it's your 10th anniversary, for another album, and a giant tour, and more things very important to Sabbath, money. Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, I didn't hear from Tony again. You know, Tony, the calls stopped coming, and he didn't answer his phone anymore. So Wendy and I moved from Connecticut, where we were living at the time, because we had moved there with Rainbow. From LA, we were in Rainbow with LA too, but Richie wanted to go back to the East Coast, to be closer to England perhaps, or as he said it, closer to some class, because he didn't care much for it out here. I did, and that's why we moved back. But at that time, we were in Connecticut. We moved back after not hearing from Tony. Wendy and I drove back across the country and saw Tony in the Rainbow, famous Rainbow Bar and Grill here in LA. And he said, you know, I'm sorry for what happened, but, you know, I'd love to have you come up to the house where we're at. And they were writing for an album with Ozzy. I said, well, I don't really want to go up there, you know, if Ozzy's going to be there. And he said, no, he's not there. I'd like you to meet Geezer and Bill. So Wendy and I went to the house, and we met Billy and Geezer, and went out to where they were rehearsing for the album. Tony said, you know, I've got this little part here. Do you think you could do anything with it? He played it for me, and I said, yeah, can you give me 5 minutes? And he went, sure. So I went off in the corner and wrote a song called Children of the Sea. Yeah. So then we did it, and he said, that's it, I'm firing Ozzy, and went and fired him. That was it, and we carried on from there. Then they got another offer to do this 10-year thing, and Tony eventually, you know, I'll have to give Tony credit for this one, because again, money was very important to all of them. But Tony went, no, I don't ever want to do this with these people again. I'm so happy with now being able to play music, because, you know, Tony didn't have a musical, perhaps a hero to look up to. He had me. He loved what I'd done in Rainbow. He knew how musical it was. He wanted to be there. And I think that, you know, I loved being in that band. It was my favorite band to be in. I mean, we were the new metal sound. I mean, exactly. I've been lucky enough to be in bands that have set standards, and Sabbath was one of them. All that needed to happen was that people had to forget all the bad things that were said about that band, because, I mean, they had a book about that thick of reviews, only the bad ones. I mean, the book was, it was like a phone book. And this said the most horrible things on earth that you could possibly imagine to these poor guys. And I felt that as a real affront to me, because I'm in this band now. And I insisted that, you know, we do something that made some sense. But, you know, my insistence didn't make any difference, because Tony and I worked so well together. Yeah. We just wrote like that instantly. Geezer, he'd gone, he'd left. We got the band together, and 2 days later, I went to rehearsal, and Tony said, Geezer left yesterday. Oh, where did he go?
Now, this is after you were rehearsing with them already.
We had just started to start writing for the album. Okay. And he was gone, so Tony and I wrote everything after that. But Geezer was gone. He had some personal problems, and you know, it was a bit of a traumatic experience for me. I mean, I thought Geezer was going to be here. Well, he wasn't. So, you know, again, I'm a very positive person. Tony's going, oh my God, what do we do now? So, you know what we'll do? We're going to write some great songs. Don't worry about it, mate. I'll take care of it. Because remember, they're never going to say anything bad about you. They're only going to say something bad about the new guy who came in. And my shoulders are big enough to take it, so don't worry about it. Oh, okay. Wow. So I think it's that kind of positiveness that I have that helps all that carry on. But again, Tony and I wrote so well together. I loved him. He's a great person. Great person. We had such a great rapport.
What were the highlights of that time with Sabbath for you?
Making the Heaven and Hell album were the highlights for me, because we went through so many problems. We were in the room one day come back from rehearsal. Rehearsal was in the garage, had been made into a studio, went back into the house and sitting there having a cup of tea. And there was a knock at the door, and they came in and they took all the furniture away. Television, the plants, because everything had been rented. You know, this is LA. We had the house, but everything was, so, you know, they just took it all away. It was gone. And a letter saying, and I no longer want to manage you. Either. This was from Don Arden.
Oh, Don Arden. So he was bailing out at the time.
Don bailed because we had gone, because they didn't want to do this thing that he kept insisting that they do.
Oh, the 10th anniversary.
Right, and Tony kept saying, I'm not going to do this. Please understand I'm not. So we were getting no help from him from the record side of it, the recording company side of it. So Tony and I and Bill went to Warner Brothers, where we knew a guy named Barry Gross, who was there at the time, who loved the band and loved the project we were going to do, and said, don't worry guys, we're going to do this one. We went, great. Well, Don heard about that and got all the furniture gone and a letter saying, I'm not going to manage you anymore. So there we were, and it was up to us now to deal with it. And, you know, Bill Ward, bless him. People said a lot of negative things about Billy Ward, and I'll tell you what, he's the sweetest human being you'll ever meet, and he's the guy who kept it all together financially. When we had to go to Florida to do this, we had no place to live in Los Angeles anymore because they pulled the rug out from under the band, from under all of us. So we were living really from day to day on some of the money that was promised to us from Warner Brothers. So we went to Florida, which is where we did most of the album. And Bill would go to the bank every day. I would drive Bill to the bank because he didn't drive, and we'd go in there and he'd talk to this lovely old Jewish woman who just fell in love with him, thought he was like her Jewish nephew or something. And of course, Billy's not Jewish, but you know, he's and this is not a religious thing, by the way. But I mean, this was Miami, where you know have that huge population of wonderful Jewish people, and that's where we lived in this neighborhood. So we kind of became that. And we got this great rapport with her, and she looked after us so well. Wire transfers when we needed them, but Bill did all that. So the best part of doing this album was that, because we not only had to do that, we had to go back to England to do the last song, which was Neon Nights. We had to go to the Channel Islands to go there, and during that time, Billy's dad died. And no one could go to the funeral. I went to the funeral, but the other guys couldn't because they were on the tax scheme at the time. So then we went back to the Channel Islands, where Tony and I wrote most of Neon Nights. Then went to a studio in Paris where we recorded the song in a place where no one spoke any English whatsoever, including their engineers, and our engineer was an English guy, Martin Birch, and we were, what's going on here? I mean, just all the things that had to happen to do this album were the right things that had to happen. But I shall never forget it, because it was just wonderful. It was like being a kid again.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you think about it, I was a kid then, only 1979. Yeah, I mean, just a mere baby then. 33 years ago. Is it? 23 years ago. Yeah, 23 years ago. And then when we got back together, of course, it had been 12 years since we had gotten back together again. Yeah. I know I'm getting ahead of the fact, but again, it was my favorite time, because we had to overcome so much, and because the pride that we all had in taking this band that deserved to be what it certainly is, again, taking it back up to those peaks again. I mean, Black Sabbath was a special band, and we were able to do that, and I was very proud of it.
Yeah. The Blairing Out Show.